to be, oh, there's got to be 10,000 ways to choke a man.
Let's kind of just start with the beginning of Choke a Man. Jeff, I mean, the song came from you, so how did that song come to you?
Well, in the solitude of 2020, I was called to recollect a lot of experience in my early life where I was oppressed and poor and challenged. And there were a couple things that ignited, the murder of George Floyd, and then watching the Social Dilemma. It was like a 1-2 punch. And I knew that I had to, as part of my witnessing of my history as a curandero and just a witness to life, I knew that the theme of oppression was the direction I needed to go, And so I sat myself down and wrote something that was fairly reactionary. I think I called it "I Can't Breathe" or something like that. And my partner Cindy was like, "Nope, back to the drawing board, son. That's not it." It's like, damn. A couple more days. This one actually I wrote in our living room. We've got these giant beanbag chairs that are super comfortable, and I was allowing a lot of pain to go through me. It was really like a medicine experience. It was like, recollecting all those times in my early life that I struggled, I didn't have a voice, and just really allowing that to be really alive in me, really alive. And when I was really poor, allowing those feelings of like desperation to be present. And then I thought, wow, there are so many ways that we're being choked.
Right.
Yeah, so many ways. Overt, voluntary, subtle, and involuntary, the whole range, the whole range. And that's where the sort of 10,000 ways, it actually started out to be 1 million. Remember when we first, I was like, Datrian, is it 1 million?
It's transformed over time.
Is it 1 million, Datrian, or is it 10,000?
I don't think there's a way to count it, but I think we landed at a good place.
Yeah, we did. And I think, I count like 2 or 3 moments with Saint Disruption that have been most poignant. And it was in Michael Hines' studio. Michael was the one that introduced us, where you had been giving me the account of your rehearsing the song and knowing that we both kind of like share a gravity towards a spiritual life.
Right.
You touched me that you said that you went into prayer around it as you were rehearsing it. That was an amazing moment to know and feel, as you sang, that you were hooking deeply into your ancestry and the suffering of your ancestors. I was like, man, that is a gift for this song that's just beyond, God, when you knocked that thing out, I was like, man, this is going to be a good, truthful song.
It was, honestly, it was a really crazy time for me personally, because I had just gone through a divorce, was really making a transformation in my own life. And finding myself within this song allowed me to actually connect with parts of me I didn't know I had. And so during my transition, I'm like, oh man, like I'm starting to feel how my great grandfather was oppressed, and my great grandmother, and starting to feel how my mom integrated the schools here in Asheville. So like hearing the stories of her having to put rocks in her sock and put that in her backpack, for kids trying to pull her hair, and just thinking about just those things that realistically didn't happen that long ago. And it was easy for me to try to, it wasn't easy, but it was easier for me to not understand where I'd come from, because my mother and my father worked so hard to kind of try to keep us out of kind of that area, of life. But it never took away the fact that I am who I am. And even in those instances of being in what some people would say, oh, this neighborhood or, middle class family, like being there was still oppression and there was still racism. And there was not, now I had friends of mine that didn't like me because I lived in this neighborhood and I was African American, or I have Caucasian friends of mine that don't like me because I live in this neighborhood. And it was crazy because you started to see, realistically, it doesn't matter how far I climb, I'm still going to have to keep climbing.
Yeah.
And so, like when you brought the song to me and I heard it the first time, it really resonated. And I was like, huh. And it was crazy because I had some, I was supposed to be doing all this other stuff. And I'm like, hey, man, got this song in the background. And then it just really started calling to me. And I appreciate you for allowing me to express it in that way. But, I really have to thank those that have gone on before me.
Yeah.
That allowed me to channel into something that I didn't know was there until now. So.
And it's hard to imagine, it's being a person of privilege. I've basically been pretty lucky all my life and pretty privileged and never held back because of, my race or what I look like or my family. So I was pretty lucky in that regard. But my mother's family were all French Jewish gypsies. Mm. And they got chased. They were hellions. That didn't help anything. But they being European gypsies, they had a hard time of it. So, as I was moving the song from its very early genesis to kind of like where it is now, I feel like I too kind of like tasted that fear. It's a different flavor of fear than we're seeing all around us right now, but there's this like fear of, am I going to be okay? Are my children going to be okay? Where are we going to live next? Where's the next meal come from? Mm. So I don't know, man. My prayer is that people will hear this song and feel, especially if they are struggling in a place of oppression, maybe that they won't feel so alone.
Right.
That's the power of the blues, isn't it?
Right. It is. It is. There's a certain level of comfort that comes from it, because you're able to connect with what they're going through. But then it's the spirit that moves through it that kind of gives you that, Mufasa.
Exactly. Yeah.
Datrian, you talk about tapping into something and channeling something. And I think the power of that song is where the quality of the song meets the right singer, and there's a certain thing that happens in this song that really locks. What do you think it is that you are tapping into and channeling? Because there's a very powerful performance. What is that for you?
For me, I do believe that God is that I do believe in God. I do believe in the Trinity that He is, but I also understand that He's a lot bigger than what I've even been privy to in my life. Mm-hmm. And with saying that, I do believe that He is often seen in different lights for different people, and I do believe that one Holy Spirit or that one universal connection or mother or however you want to call it, but that one thing that locks into the root of the trees and reaches to the core of the earth, that thing right there is what Chokaman is literally tapping into. From the first time that you hear the first guitar lick, to the downbeat of the drums, it's literally screaming connection, and that's that I honestly feel like that to me is a Holy Spirit move. That's just able to connect any and everything around it. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of where I sit with it.
It's kind of what our brother John Medeski's talking about. He's like, wow, we are making music of spirit. It's not spiritual music,
right?
But it's like we're, as a community, we're kind of creating friendship and trust and all the things that make a community really good and really resilient. Mm-hmm. And I think we're kind of dedicated to each other's growth. And so I think the way John put it is that this isn't spiritual music, but it's music where spirit is allowed to kind of come through it. You know, it's like Mahavishnu Orchestra. You know, that's, you know, it's not, you know, singing in church on Sunday, but it has that same sort of opening the curtains, thinning the veil, so that you have some proximity with that power that doesn't have any words associated with it. Yeah, wow.
I'm with you.
Well, my hope is that we just keep on doing this. You know, it's like I am a lyricist and love writing, and there's this kind of cool spark. It's like I feel like there is a way that I'm writing with your voice in mind, your very extraordinary talent in mind, and I'm excited for the adventure. I mean, it's just like it feels like the boat is just leaving the harbor.
Right.
But yeah, we've got a couple more in the hopper, and just got to get in the
Excited.
studio and get them done.
Crying for the mother, straight from the earth, thirsting for the water, comes from her birth.